Hi, I'm Phylum and welcome to the show. Today, I'm going to be talking about 3 simple things you can do to improve your game in Diabotical. These are going to be 3 super generic things that I've personally worked on over the years and things that I've talked to really good players about, and things that just stand out to me as marks of really mature players. They're going to make a huge difference to your game, but they're going to require a bit of thought. So let's just dive into this list here. Number 1 is going to be die less. And this might sound obvious, and please don't just click off the video at this point, okay? I'm going to elaborate here in a really interesting way. Staying alive is critical in Quake. And it's critical in pretty much every game, but especially in Quake, especially in modes like TDM or even MacGuffin, right? Where you're picking up guns, you're getting stronger the longer you're alive in terms of utility, right? The more guns you pick up, the more options you're going to have, the more you're going to be able to pick fights on your terms. So knowing how to stay alive is going to be important. But even in, Wipeout and Arena and modes where you have all guns, if you're hitting a rail on 5 HP in a mode like that, it can be completely game-changing, especially in Arena, right? Like Arena 2v2, if you're just alive, you're an extra target to hit. You're putting extra pressure on your opponent. In Arena 1v1, it kind of goes without saying, but stay alive. And how did I practice this, right? How did I try and get better at this? Well, a big thing for me was rewatching my own games, right? And this can be hard. This always hurts my soul watching myself play back because of all the mistakes I make. But watch one of your games back, and before every fight, pause and ask yourself, right? Well, you can see your stack. What do you think your opponent's health and armor is? And not just that, but like, how are you going to move into this fight? Like, are you going to take damage as you go into the fight? Or are you going to get in for free? Where's your opponent positioned? And what's going to happen if the fight goes bad? You have probably an idea in your head at the time you're playing the game that may not reflect reality of how much damage you're going to be able to do. What happens if you miss everything? Are you going to be able to back out of the fight okay? Ask yourself the hard questions, and at the end of it, ask yourself, was this a good fight? And then next time you're in a game, just try and, have that same mindset in your head, right? The more times you practice thinking it, rewatching games and watching good players play, the easier it's going to be to have that mindset in games. So don't only watch yourself and don't only watch good players, but pause these games, take the time to actually think these situations through the way you should be thinking about them, live in an actual game, and practice that mindset. Number 2 is going to be map and item awareness. And this is not just item timing, okay? Item timing is going to be part of it, but this is so much more. Overall, I guess I would think of this as like a combination of knowing what's up on the map, knowing where there's action and where there's fights and where there are enemies, and knowing where's safe. It's a big part of like game sense, but I think it's a bit more than that. So obviously knowing where to go is important, and it feeds into knowing how to not die, right? If you respawn and rush into a room full of enemies, then you're just going to give frags away and achieve nothing. How do you get a gun off of the spawn in TDM or MacGuffin, right? How do you do that without taking damage? How do you be in the right place at the right time? Because good players seem to have this uncanny ability to just be in the right place at the right time. How do they do it? For me, a big part of my mindset for this has been improving my mindset on spawn. I mentioned before, right? It's important to know where to go off of a spawn. And I think spawns are a great time to practice this, because while you should have this kind of going in your head all the time, when you die, you have this moment to like reset. And so when you spawn, you should be asking yourself a few questions, right? Where did you die? If you die in a big fight, then, like how many people were in that room? Is there still going to be action in that room, right? Is that room dangerous? Or is there another hot point that fight's going to be going to, right? So say you die in the red armor room and then quad's coming. Well, then you're probably not going to want to be in the line between that red armor and that quad, right? That's going to be a hotly contested area. Maybe you want to go to the safe part of the map and get a gun before rushing into that quad. Obviously, there are a lot of gray areas around this, right? Sometimes you do just have to respawn and rush into a quad and have a presence there, or sometimes you have to dive onto the point in MacGuffin to just keep the overtime alive. But knowing where you can go on the map to get items, and I think the other really great example of this for me is in a TDM game where there's been action around, the mid room and off to one side, and well, you can kind of guess that no one's been back in one corner of the map where there's a rocket launcher, so you can just kind of go and, well, hey, there's a rocket launcher there. It only comes up every 25 or 30 seconds, but because you thought about where everyone had been, around the time you died, you're able to just make a guess, right? If everyone's been in red armor room, then yeah, you're not going to go into that room expecting the red armor to be up. And this is what I mean that it's not just timing. You can use this kind of mindset to have an estimate about, for example, everyone was in the red armor room at 05, then maybe I'm going to say the red armor was taken around, 10 seconds and it's going to be back at 35, right? You can make an educated guess even without hearing it, and without, this isn't just the mechanical skill of adding 25 to a clock, right? This is a much broader awareness. All right, number 3, this is probably the simplest. It's going to be the age-old question, what is behind me, okay? And this is probably the single biggest change I ever experienced in my Quake game when I started asking myself this regularly, right? Are there teammates behind me? Is there a red armor or a 50 HP or something that's going to help me stack up behind me? Or is there just safety behind me, right? I'm thinking about fights in terms of what happens next, and especially in terms of what happens if the fight goes badly, right? Can I deal damage and then back away onto an armor or onto a health? Can I fall back to my teammates and have support if things start going badly? How am I going to stay alive after the fight, right? These things are all related. And a classic example of this especially is obvious in a duel, right? Where, you come into the room, you come into the mega room and you delay your opponent while they're taking mega, and you just stand in an awkward spot. They don't want to jump for the item and take a lot of damage. They're trying to damage you, but you're being tricky, and you delay, and then you back away onto the red armor while they take mega, because that red armor's spawned because you've just delayed them for so long, right? It gives a purpose to your fights, or it helps you give a purpose to your fights, and especially, it's something that I see as a really clear difference between an experienced player and a newer player. Experienced players have this bigger picture thinking. One of the easiest ways to expand your big picture thinking is by asking what you can back away to from this situation. Alright, so these are 3 important things I think can really help people spice up their Diabotical gameplay. And like I said, they're all related, I think they all fall under the banner of like game sense, knowing how to stay alive, knowing what's happening on the map, and knowing where you can back away from each engagement to. These things, like I said, they really show in mature players, and I really see them lacking in lots of newer players. They're things that you can improve gradually. Don't expect a huge change overnight, or maybe expect a bit of a change at first, but these skills do develop slowly, and it's just this really like abstract beauty of Quake that lends itself especially to the kind of weird map awareness stuff. And just, being able to know, yes, that rocket launcher that comes up every 30 seconds or 25 seconds in this TDM game, that is up right now. Even though I haven't seen it picked up the last 3 times, I just know it's up. And you go there and it's up, and it's a massive reward. It's a massive endorphin rush, right? It's playing a whole other level of game. And it's, again, something I kind of say in response to people who say Quake is too much about adding 25 to the clock. Well, no, there's a bigger awareness, and there's a more broad sense of control other than just directly timing things you pick up or see picked up. So I really hope this was helpful to people. One other thing I will say is don't forget to improve mechanics as well, right? Even if you already have good mechanics, you can always be working on them and thinking of them. It's kind of free, right? And you always should be trying to improve every aspect of your game. But if you're feeling pretty good about your mechanics, if you're not feeling pretty good about your mechanics, hopefully these are 3 things you can just think about while you're playing that can help you improve. I really want to make some content to help people think about Quake and help people improve at Quake. So hopefully, let me know if people like this. Let me know if people are using this and find it useful. That'll definitely encourage me to do more. Thank you so much. If there's anything you want to see me talk about in Diabotical, please send me a message. I would be more than happy to hear people's feedback, and I'll see you next time.